Hello everyone, Christopher here again, another solo and mediocre indie game developer. As the title of this video suggests, today I'm going to talk about the games I've developed and the ones I'm working on, and those that are on hold. I'll also share the inspiration behind some of them and the genre of each game. So, cutting to the chase, let's dive in and talk about it. I can't remember why I named it that way. Analyzing it now, I realize it doesn't really resemble an escape room since it doesn't require solving puzzles to complete. This game was my first attempt at finishing a project, made for the Unreal Game Jam 2021. My goal wasn't to win but at least to try to finish something within the week given by organizers. I am aware that it is very poorly done. I know that it's quite mediocre, but I had a big issue developing this game, and it was that it was my first time packaging an Unreal Engine project. I didn't know how to configure it, and after having followed tutorials about it, the compiler still gave a lot of errors, so I didn't publish the game but all the files of the project on itch.io. Then yes, I know it is embarrassing and humiliating, but unfortunately I couldn't solve the issues. But what was the gameplay of the game? Well, it was a simple shooter in which you have to destroy clumsy robots and collect orbs, while a dome shrinks and leaves you without space. Yes, I know, it sounds quite bad. Once again, we have another project for a jam, this time for the Unreal Game Jam of 2022, and I was able to package this game and upload the packaged game to the itch.io page. The most challenging part of this project was learning to use Unreal Engine behavior trees, since I wanted to create more intelligent enemies. But they are still quite dumb, so no, the enemies didn't turn out the way I wanted. Continuing this game is about killing enemies with a sword, and additionally, you could invert the gravity of your character to fight either on normal terrain or on inverted terrain. But the issue I had was that I couldn't get the mesh nav to work the way I wanted, which was for it to work below a surface. The nav mesh only works exclusively above a surface. Due to this problem in the inverted terrain that is at the top because it has no enemies, so it is another poorly made game by me. And this game, if I want to make a remake in the future, with somewhat improved graphics but maintaining the style, in addition to making it longer, and I wanted to add cinematics, but I'm still thinking about it. Yet again, another game made for a jam. This game was made for the Unreal Game Jam of 2023. While this game is a fighting game, my goal was to make a split-screen multiplayer game, with the option to fight against AIs, very stupid by the way, and well you have to fight in a square coliseum, not oval as it should be, while avoiding obstacles such as flamethrowers, lasers or objects that your enemy throws at you. And the same issue I had with Escape Room happened with this again, and I couldn't export the game. It was the first time I tried to export a game in Unreal Engine 5, and every time I tried to package the game, Unreal only gave me error after error. Errors that I couldn't solve, and unfortunately, like Escape Room, I only published the game files and not the exported game. I think this game doesn't need much explanation, right? Who hasn't heard of Flappy Bird? Well, the only difference was that obviously I developed it in 3D using the voxel art technique, and obviously because this game was developed in Unreal Engine. It looks good, although remembering I also programmed a cell shading for that game, but it's not a big deal either. So let's move on to the next one. Another game that I think everyone knows, and if you don't know it, what the hell? Have you never had an internet outage due to rain or some other reason? Okay, but I don't think that matters. So, like the previous one, I only developed it in 3D with voxels and I added cell shading. That's about it. This game, so to speak, is my dream project. I began developing the first version of this game in 2020. Initially, this game was inspired by the Star Wars games Rogue Squadron 1 and 2. In other words, it was a game about space battles. After seeing Rogue Squadron 3, I also added sections in which you control humans. This only in the first iteration I made of this game, which by the way is totally lost. Then over the years I have been restarting the development of this video game several times. In total I think I have restarted the development about 9 times, and the game has changed a lot, since after that it became an FPS with spaceships, then I removed the spaceships, then it became a TPS at the suggestion of a friend, then I added the feature of controlling any member of the squad, inspired by Clive Barker's Jericho, then I removed it, and today the vision I have is a game inspired a lot by Gears of War. In other words, it is a TPS with a coverage system, and I have had that vision since 2022. And I have proposed an entire universe for this game, with a story in which human behavior and great empires are criticized, but at the same time, despite the critical narrative, I want the focus of the game to be the gameplay. I mean, the main thing is to provide a good gameplay and, more important, a fun game. And what's stopping me from developing this game is that it's very out of my hands, and I think I would need a moderately large team to develop it. So, this game is on hold. I just wish I could develop a demo of the game so that players can play it and see what people think, and also see if the project gets funding. This game is partly inspired by the last 2 entries in the God of War saga, and partly by Zelda games like Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild, so try to imagine a mix of these 2 games. It would be something as well as God of War's combat system with the exploration elements of Zelda, but that's the core idea of the gameplay. So what is this game about? Well, I want this game to tell the political and religious conflict of a culture. For the moment, I am thinking of choosing an indigenous culture, and I have seriously thought about the Toltec culture, since I think the Toltecs represent a fascinating warrior culture with a good development in terms of social, religious, political, and architectural, in addition to the fact that cultures like the Nordic, Greek, Egyptian, and others are quite overexploited, and perhaps a little overvalued, and I think this game is another one in which I need more people to be able to continue with its development, since this is another game that could be considered something big, and if things go well I hope it is a project in which I can hire people to help me, but for the moment I have to save for that. Plus I have doubts about whether to continue with its development, since searching for similar games I have been able to find this Mexican game and this other one. The first has already been released and is on Steam, and the second one? Apparently it was a scam. I don't know if I can contribute anything, and if I end up deciding to continue with the development, it will probably take a few years to be released. I think this is the only game I have in Godot Engine, and I started this game in 2021 according to a tweet I posted that year. Oh god, it's been several years and I haven't been able to finish a shit like that. But well, this game is just about evade obstacles, and as you can see the character of this game is the one that I am using as my avatar at this stage of my channel. And well, almost everything about this game is already programmed. What remains to be done are the levels, and I have thought seriously about finishing this game, just to say that I have a finished project, and I still have the hope that this game will be finished this year, and thus try to leave behind the stage of shitty games, but well I think it will be another game to finish that stage, but I'll talk about that in the next point. This game is quite simple, and as its name indicates, it is about battles between 2 players who shoot each other using cannons, and I would like this game to be online, and the first to be published on Steam. So at the moment I am using the Steam Online subsystem to be able to connect both players, since I would not like to get into the world of dedicated video game servers at least for the moment. I would also like to implement a score table where you can see the score of the other players who are the top. And I would also like this game to be the last of the stage of shitty games that I developed, and thus give way to more professional projects that I have in mind. What an original name, right? Well, what I have proposed is to develop an rage game. That is, a game that is intentionally difficult, and well, this game is quite advanced in terms of logic. Since I have menus, the save system, settings, character movement, and several obstacles already created, but in terms of level design, I don't have anything. And I feel that with this game I have to put in more effort than normal, since I would like it to be the first game considered professional that I publish on Steam. Well, this game is an FPS game, quite inspired by the simplicity of boomer shooters like Doom, Quake, Unreal Tournament and other games of that style from the 90s. Although I would also like to add some details of more modern shooters, and well, I wanted the only one distinctive feature of this game is that the enemies will be vampires and other classic monsters. And I also plan to add teammates managed by AI. The number of teammates would depend on the level of difficulty, but I'm still thinking about it. Also, I have some issues with the graphics, since I cannot create the graphic style that I have pictured on my own. Because I am not a 3D artist, at the moment I am only developing the logic of the game. But even so, this game is advancing at a fairly slow pace, since I'm working mainly on Rolling Ball and Cannon Battle. There may be more news about this game later. I think this is the only game on the list for which I have not developed a demo. I have only brainstormed what the game would be like, and I have been quite inspired by the classic game Battle City, which it is a tank game in which two players face each other on predefined maps or ones created by the users themselves, and I have not made a demo precisely because right now I have no way of creating a system in which you can upload the maps to a server and then other people can download it. Plus, I don't know whether to make the camera like in the original game, I mean like a top-down or located behind the tank. Plus maybe add more players or other types of vehicles. It is still just an idea in which I do not have a well-defined direction, but I hope one day I will be able to develop it. This is the most recently project I've started. I began the development around 2 weeks ago, and it is almost done, and maybe it will take a few weeks to finish it. Since I'm working on the graphics, this game is mainly for cell phones, but I'll also make a version for desktop. Probably this is the simplest game on the list, but I wanted it to be like that, simple. Then maybe in a future video I will finally show you the game. I know that there are several projects, but I hope to be able to publish some of these games that I have designed. It may take several years, but I hope to be able to enjoy that process. And I know that perhaps some of you will think that I am an uncreative person, because in order to explain these games I always tell you to imagine things that already exist. But well, those are the things that I like, and I try to do the things that I like. Others will also think that I am quite disorganized for having several projects that I have even been trying to develop for years. And I think you're right, I also consider myself quite disorganized, but I am trying to improve at this and improve myself. Perhaps in the future I will also talk about the hell of video game development, more specifically about when the projects are not progressing and how this can affect us mentally, but I don't know. I don't have a path mapped out as to what type of videos there will be in the future on this channel apart from the development diaries, so I'll think about it. I just hope I can get there to have your support to be able to continue developing with these projects. And I also hope that little by little more people will get and we can grow as a community. So see you in the next video.